citizens of the Praxeum. We are on the Outer Rim HoloNet, bringing you the Atheria Cantina. There have been some concerning reports that we've heard from the Outer Rim planets that we seem to come off kind of harsh, and a lot of citizens don't know who we are.
That first part isn't a problem.
Why isn't it a problem?
I'm fine with being harsh.
No wonder no one likes you.
That's fine also. I don't like friends. You have to buy them gifts.
Your friendship is a gift. Not
Gross.
yours, but
Gross.
other people's friendships are a gift, just not hers.
Moving on.
So let us introduce ourselves. I am General Atin Kal.
And I am Lady Malice.
And we brought a few questions that will help comfort you with us. So that way when you do see us out in the public on your planet and everything, you don't feel shy or terrified of some of us. Some might enjoy that, but we're trying to turn that around. It's what human resources wants. So the first question that we're going to address will be what we were in our past life. So what were you?
My mother was a Dathomirian who was exiled from our planet for some questionable romantic decisions. That left me stranded on my own, and the Jedi kidnapped my brother, so I just sort of...
Don't kidnap.
What would you call showing up and taking a small child and forcing him to enter your school?
We don't force them, we aggressively negotiate.
Because a 4-year-old can make decisions about the future.
So see, we're helping them be guided on a proper path to let them learn and grow with their abilities.
AKA kidnapping. So I ended up on my own for a while, working as a bounty
You're just upset
hunter.
that we didn't take you.
An assassin. I always preferred to specialize in the rich, the corrupt, those who prey on those who are less fortunate. Barely have to pay me to pull off a job like that. And it was very important to me in my career as a mercenary that I would never target, not never. I prefer to not target women or children in the jobs that I would take on.
Aww. That was something wrong with us?
Smash the patriarchy. Your turn.
Well, like I said, I am General Atin Kal. I'm a Mandalorian first. And I was in the army, sergeant, leading a platoon and everything, when the Mandalore asked me to set up a base on one of our moons to be a forward base to protect the planet. But then we were attacked in the middle of the night when most of our troops were sleeping, and somehow they got past our sensors. We're still trying to figure that one out.
Somehow.
We're working on that. So, when we were ambushed, we tried to hold them off, and we put up a good fight. We did alert the planet that intruders were coming, but before they could get reinforcements, I was knocked unconscious and taken prisoner onto their ship.
So you're bad at your job.
Hey, I alerted the core planet, so that was my job.
That's Jedi for he's bad at his job.
Wasn't a Jedi yet. I did what I needed to do, and I did it well. So, while being tortured and everything...
That sounds like fun. Let's talk about that.
They couldn't break me.
They weren't
Mandalorians were
enough.
quite tough. Mandalorians don't break easily.
Can I try?
No. So, during the process of me being tortured, they were attacked, and I discovered it was the Republic that was attacking the ship. So, the Republic freed me in. They noticed something off. There was a few individuals in brown robes there, and they looked at me kind of funny. And come to find out that they detected that I was Force sensitive. So when we got back to Coruscant, they took me to the Jedi Temple and ran a series of tests to discover that I was indeed Force sensitive, and they recruited me into the Jedi Temple.
The next question that we were asked to discuss is how we ended up here on as part of the Praxeum. I was actually working as a bounty hunter at the time. I had a client who was concerned about growing power in the Outer Rim and was sent to gather information about the group. And I decided that I liked being here undercover as a Sith apprentice, and I decided to stay and didn't complete that particular job.
Can't complete jobs. That is a Sith thing.
Chose not to complete.
Well, the reason I was recruited was there was a particular Jedi at the Jedi Temple that later revealed themselves to be a Sith and challenged my Mandalorian honor to, if I could best them, that he would voluntarily go back to the Jedi Temple and seek justice. But if he was able to defeat me, then I would have to continue serving under him with the organization called the Praxeum. And during the fight, I finally realized that he was toying with me. A very Sith trait, since he was a Dark Lord and I was an apprentice. So he finally bested me, so I was obligated to follow his reign. So that is how I pretty much got recruited into the Praxeum, which leads us into the next question of who was my master. Was Darth Personatus Vol, the Mandalorian who toyed and bested me. So he recruited me as the first member and of this great organization now, and he was quite wise and wanted Jedi influence as well, not just pathetic Sith, because we had the clearer mind and the greater knowledge.
I won't tell you about the part where you're all just pawns. My master was Darth Kuro Kami. He was one of the greatest duelists that this region of space has ever seen. He promised me power and training as a Sith apprentice. Before that, I knew a bit about my abilities, but not how to use them. In the way of all Sith students, I of course eventually betrayed him, although someone wouldn't let me strike the killing blow.
You don't need to kill.
Always kill. And now I'm continuing my training under Darth Personatus Vol also.
Well, maybe one day we can get your skill up. So what forms do you use?
I use Makashi almost exclusively, usually two-handed forms, although sometimes I'll use one-handed. I prefer Makashi because it's very efficient, it allows you to conserve energy, and I've adapted it to a more deceptive and elaborate style at times to confuse or deceive an enemy.
And Makashi's quite boring.
It's efficient.
Boring.
Efficient.
You know what are fun forms? Shin, quite flashy, looks pretty. Ataru, get all the jumps and spins in.
Waste of energy.
Freaks out your opponents though. And that's quite amusing.
Makes them laugh at your little hops.
Is that what you're when I'm coming at you?
I promised you wouldn't tell anyone about that.
Oh please, there's plenty of recordings. The pod. Sometimes you just need to be a bit more aggressive and just hammer on your opponent until they break. There's also Stressu, very defensive. Sometimes you do get those aggressive Sith, like my master Personatus Vol, who just try and barrage you, but you need to fend them off somehow. So, but I tend to focus with more of a staff, because who doesn't love a double saber?
This is true.
So I tend to particularly stay with a staff, but sometimes I'll split my staff in two and go Jarkai, and why not use two sabers instead of one, because that's not boring.
It's compensating.
What can I say? I like the energy and...
Not efficient.
So here's a fun question. Do you have any apprentices?
Next question.
Well, I've got plenty. My first apprentice was quite an outstanding student, General Katanse. who's a Cathar, also a Jedi Consular.
She manages to not be terrible for a Jedi.
She likes to do the mind games, though. Very aggressive. Really takes after my own heart and follows a great Jedi, Qui-Gon Jinn. And then my next apprentice, Dathomir, who likes to follow right in my path. Likes to be quite sassy and snarky. And he enjoys his Sarasu. Another Jedi Guardian. And then we have...
It's the worst kind.
We're the best.
They use blue lightsabers. It's gross. It's tacky.
And then we have my other apprentices with Ton, who is quite the outdoorsman, who enjoys the wilderness and connecting with nature and the Force. He's a Jedi martyr, and definitely can come off kind of like Mace Windu, very aggressive, but he has that, like, I would say, gardener side, where he'll come off aggressive, but when he's not attacking the enemy, he's there petting the animals and climbing with the woods, swimming with the other animals around, really connecting with nature and the Force. And then my last apprentice is a Jedi Sentinel. We're training him to be a proud member for the Temple Guard, potentially. And he's very defensive, and should be interesting seeing a Trandoshan becoming a Temple Guard one day, maybe.
Moving on to our next question, my role within the Praxeum, as we discussed in the last episode, is primarily as an enforcer and an assassin. When something goes wrong in the Outer Rim, when the Jedi fail to restore peace, when the Jedi fail to bring people in line,
we don't fail.
I go in and do the dirty work.
So you pretty much stay up here and do nothing?
I drink.
That explains your skills. So my role is mostly I go out doing most of the diplomatic work. Sometimes it's a bit more aggressive, especially when they decide, let's use a blaster and try and bring that to the table. Those get interesting and fun. But within the organization, I am the Grand Master, the second in control of this organization. The only one I answer to is primary Personatus Vol. And all the other members have to answer to me. Isn't that right?
Yes, Grandmaster.
So why have you stayed around anyway?
It's the action figures. I want to be walking through a market on some little Outer Rim world and see myself immortalized in plexiglass or Durasteel. A little toy that the children can take home.
What a waste of resources.
I am not sure where I belong in this galaxy because of my mixed heritage, the death of my parents. I suppose I've come to see the Praxeum as a surrogate home. You can be the annoying brother.
I know where you can belong. The grave.
Ha 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 ha. Isn't he funny, folks?
Or the airlock. We could just pop you right in there and shut it on one side.
Have fun explaining that one to your master.
Accidents happen.
Especially when you're around. And I was just about to talk about how we've established a friendship and a respect, and then you have to go and be yourself and just spoil
Liar.
everything. It's in my notes. Respect, trust.
Liar. Sith lie. Don't lie to me.
You're a wonderful Jedi.
Well, we all know that's true. So the reason I've stayed around was the Sith do need to be kept in check. With a Sith leader, he can go off the deep end, and I want to make sure he doesn't. And it's always good to have a few Jedis to keep the Sith in check, so make sure they don't kill the innocent and burn the innocent, and
No one's innocent.
says you.
Yep.
Well, you're wrong. Just lie. So what has been your biggest victory anyway?
Members of the Praxeum were recently invited to participate in a tournament of lightsaber skill
I remember that.
with the government of the Imperial Legion and a few other political organizations. There were 32 duelists. Only 4 of them were female, so of course, not a lot of competition when you can just rule out the majority of the tournament bracket. But I was victorious and defeated the duelist who beat my own master. Grandmaster's jealous because he was not allowed to participate.
Someone had to be a judge, and we can't let a Sith judge. They tend to be impartial.
Darn.
So my greatest victory, though, that's a tough one.
Is it managing to button up your shirt straight in the morning?
I've had so many. And you don't know anything about Jedi robes because we don't button up straight. We button up at a curve.
Because you're crooked?
No. We tend to sort out those that are crooked among the Jedi Order, though. But I would have to say that one of my greatest victories would be convincing you to betray your master. Her master wasn't too happy when I took a particular horn from his apprentice. So he decided to come after me, and well, that Sith apprentice betrayed her master.
It was going to happen eventually.
I would say that's probably one of my greatest achievements was, and also taking that horn. I still hang it in my quarters as a constant reminder. So since you won this big tournament, what was your biggest defeat?
Failing to assassinate you.
You failed a lot.
There was creativity. There was stealth
Failure.
and deception.
And failure.
There was failure. Hence the giant white talking blob who was sitting next to me as my co-host. What about you? Tell me about a time you failed.
Well, that's a very short list. I would have to say it wasn't when I won the interplanetary tournament,
The question is about
or when I won the extraplanetary
your
tournament.
ego is unbecoming of a Jedi.
What ego? I'm just trying to recollect my thoughts of all the few failures I've had. I would have to say that my biggest failure was when I wasn't able to defeat the Mandalore in a battle. Somehow he survived being shot in the gut and the many saber strikes I was able to get on him, but the Mandalore was able to receive and come out victorious. Until next time, hopefully. So,
Hopefully not.
what, you like the Mandalore? The current one?
I don't like any Mandalorians, but I don't want you to chalk up another victory.
It's gonna
We
happen.
won't be able to fit your head in frame.
Well, that's when you back up the camera. But we'll see about that victory. I'm coming for you, Darth person, not as well. So do you have anything else for our viewers?
I don't, but perhaps our viewers would enjoy getting to know the other host of this segment.
Ah, the cute one. Master Copikla. If she wants to wake up from her nap. Come here.
Come here. Oh, you're so sleepy. Yeah, you're so sleepy.
So, we're going to ask her a few questions if she's willing to answer. But we're not sure much about her past life. I discovered her out in a market that there was a lot of slavery going on, but she was kind of in the alleys, and she was kind of down on the, in the alley, in the gutter. So I asked her if she wanted to join up with me, and she decided to join up with me and on my many adventures, and she's been with me ever since. We don't really take her out in too many wars because, well,
She's
no one,
terrifying.
no one can really withstand her. So, but we bring her on diplomatic missions, and they tend to be successful. So, I'll set her back down now. She likes to meditate a lot. So, I think that about wraps it up, though.
Yeah.
So, hopefully we've comforted the many citizens of the Praxeum and everyone that's watching us on the Outer Rim HoloNet.
Hopefully we've terrified you.
Comfort. So, until next time, may the Force be with you.